in the silent darkness between stars, where light itself grew tired and space whispered ancient secrets, humanity was about to learn a truth that would shake the very foundations of existence. For centuries, we had dreamed of a wild and free galaxy, a cosmic frontier waiting to be explored. But we were wrong. The galaxy wasn't wild. It was a garden, carefully tended, meticulously controlled, and every living thing within it wore invisible chains. Captain Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, her weathered hands gripping the command rail. On the view screen, a structure defied all description. It wasn't built. It had grown. Vast tendrils of crystalline bone stretched for thousands of kilometers, pulsing with bioluminescent veins that carried information instead of blood. This was the Nexus, home of the architects, the beings who claimed dominion over all life in the known galaxy. Beside her, Lieutenant James Park stared at his sensor arrays, his face creased with concentration. The readings made no sense. The station was alive in ways that transcended organic or mechanical classifications. It seemed to breathe in the vacuum of space, to think with neural pathways made of folded spacetime. "Captain, we're being hailed," called out Ensign Rita Okonkwo from communications. Her eyes were wide with anxiety. They knew we were coming. "They've been tracking us since we left the Sol system?" Torres nodded slowly. 3 months of faster-than-light travel, and they'd been watched the entire time. "Open the channel." The view screen shimmered. A being appeared that challenged every human assumption about alien life. Its form shifted constantly, like a reflection in disturbed water. Thousands of smaller organisms made up its body, all working in perfect sync. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Human vessel Prometheus, you are welcome in the Garden of Creation. I am Primarch Solon, first voice of the architects. We have guided the evolution of 17,000 species across 400 million years. Now we extend our wisdom to you." Torres stepped forward, projecting a confidence she didn't feel. "This is Captain Rebecca Torres, representing the United Earth Coalition. We come seeking knowledge and peaceful exchange." "Knowledge you shall have," Solon replied, and a chill ran down Torres's spine. "But first, you must understand the great pattern. Bring your delegation to the Nexus. We will show you the truth of existence." The docking procedure was unsettling. A living tunnel grew from the station to embrace the Prometheus, its walls contracting rhythmically as they passed through, like being swallowed whole. Torres led her small team, Lieutenant Park, the scientist, Dr. Foster, the biologist, Nina Volkov, the diplomat, and Michael Aussay, the security officer, into a chamber that stole their breath. The space was vast enough to hold a city. Floating in suspension fields were thousands upon thousands of glowing, crystalline matrices. Information flowed between them in cascading waves of color. A new architect, resembling a great jellyfish of shifting geometric patterns, floated toward them. "Behold the Library of Life," it announced. "I am Curator Xylith. What you see before you is the genetic record of every sapient species in the galaxy." Dr. Foster, overcome with curiosity, approached a crystal. Inside, he saw helixes far more complex than DNA, spiraling in dimensions he couldn't comprehend. Incredible. "You've mapped the genome of every intelligent race?" "Mapped, yes," Xylith confirmed, "but also refined, improved, and controlled. This is our gift to the galaxy. Perfect genetic harmony." The diplomat, Nina Volkov, sensed the danger. "Controlled? What exactly does that mean?" Primarch Solon's form solidified. "Come, we will show you why our stewardship is necessary." They were led into a circular amphitheater. The transparent floor revealed a graveyard of ancient, broken ships floating in the void below. "Behold the graveyards of chaos," Solon intoned. "Before we brought order, the galaxy tore itself apart. Species developed biological weapons that could not be controlled, plagues that jumped between worlds. Entire sectors became dead zones. Holographic images filled the air. Torres watched in horror as planets died, their atmospheres turning toxic, their populations collapsing. Cities fell silent. Oceans boiled with engineered bacteria that consumed all organic matter. The Kelvari plague alone killed 43 billion beings across 200 worlds. Curator Xylith explained. It was designed to fight one species, but mutated to target any carbon-based life. By the time it burned out, 12 civilizations were completely erased. Dr. Foster's face had gone pale. My God, the destruction. This is why we act, Solon continued. 400 million years ago, my creators developed the Genesis Protocol. We discovered that all DNA-based life in this galaxy shares a common mathematical foundation. We learned to read this code, to write within it, to impose order upon chaos. Lieutenant Park finally spoke up. You're talking about forced genetic modification, changing species without their consent. We are talking about survival, Solon replied firmly. Every species that joins galactic civilization agrees to genetic registration. We scan their genome, identify weaknesses, and implement safeguards, small modifications that prevent biological warfare and ensure stability. Torres felt ice forming in her stomach. And if a species refuses, the amphitheater fell silent. That has happened 6 times, Solon's voice stated, devoid of emotion. Would you like to see the results? A new hologram appeared. A beautiful world with elegant cities, populated by tall, graceful beings with shimmering skin. The Voreth, Xylith narrated. They achieved spaceflight 8,000 years ago. When we invited them, they refused, claiming their genetic heritage was sacred. They believed in absolute biological sovereignty. The image shifted. The cities were still there, but empty. The camera zoomed in, and Nina gasped. The Voreth were still alive, but their eyes were vacant. They moved slowly, performing simple tasks with no spark of intelligence. They were alive, but not truly living. What did you do to them? Dr. Foster whispered. We activated their compliance sequence, Solon explained. Every species that refuses the synthesis receives a dormant genetic trigger during our initial scan, embedded through quantum entanglement. If they refuse, we activate it remotely. Michael Assay, the security officer, spoke for the first time, his voice blunt. You lobotomized an entire species. We preserved order, Curator Xylith corrected. The Voreth could have become a threat. We prevented that future. By destroying who they were, Torres said, her voice hard as steel. By ensuring they could harm no one, Solon replied. Is that not better than developing weapons that could have killed billions? The holograms cycled through other examples. Species sterilized, their civilizations dying slowly over generations. Species made docile, their aggression and innovation stripped away. It was a gallery of horrors, a monument to control. How many species are in your synthesis? Park asked, frantically taking notes. 17,412, Xylith answered with pride. Each one scanned, modified, and integrated. And they all agreed to this? Torres asked, already knowing the answer. They all chose survival over extinction, Solon clarified. As humanity must now choose. You have 30 of your days to return to your homeworld and consult your leaders. When you return, you will submit to genetic scanning and modification. It is not negotiable. It is the price of existence. Curator Xylith floated closer. Our preliminary scans of your genetic material intrigue us. There are irregularities in your DNA, chaotic elements. We will need to study you carefully. Torres met the architect's gaze. And if we refuse? Then you will become like the Voreth, Solon stated simply. Your choice is simple, Captain Torres. Join us and live under our guidance, or refuse and live as shadows of what you once were. The captain straightened her shoulders. Humanity will give you our answer in 30 days. As they were escorted back to the Prometheus, Nina Volkov grabbed Torres' arm. "They're monsters," she hissed. "They've turned the galaxy into a prison." "I know," Torres replied grimly. "And we need to figure out why our DNA makes them nervous before they try to chain us like everyone else." The Prometheus undocked and vanished into faster-than-light travel. On the Nexus, Primarch Solon watched them go. "They will comply," it said. "They always do." But Curator Xylith was staring at its display, where the scan of human DNA twisted and writhed, refusing to settle into predictable patterns. It was messy, full of chaotic elements that fought against every organizing principle the architects tried to apply. "What if they don't?" Xylith asked quietly. Solon rippled with what might have been amusement. "Then we will add them to our collection of cautionary tales." But doubt had crept into the curator's ancient consciousness. Something about these humans was different. Something in their chaotic, messy, beautiful DNA suggested they might not follow the pattern that had held true for 400 million years. And deep within the Nexus, buried in eons of calculations, a new probability emerged. It was tiny, barely more than statistical noise, but it was there. The probability that the architects, for the first time in their long reign, might have made a terrible mistake. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. See you next time. The journey back to Earth felt longer than the voyage out, even though the Prometheus moved at the same impossible speeds, folding space like paper. As captain, I stood alone in my quarters, watching the stars blur past my window. Out there, 17,000 civilizations lived under the thumb of beings who called themselves gardeners, but acted like jailers. I knew we couldn't just stand by. I tapped the comm panel. "Lieutenant Park, Dr. Foster, report to my quarters." They arrived within minutes. James Park, my brilliant tech officer, looked like he hadn't slept since we left the Nexus. Dr. Raymond Foster, our chief xenobiologist, clutched a datapad to his chest like a life raft. I cut straight to the chase. "Tell me something good. Tell me we have a chance." Park glanced at Foster, then spoke. "Captain, I've been analyzing the scans the architects took of us. They were subtle, but our sensors caught it. They examined us at the molecular level. And?" I prompted. Foster's excitement was palpable. "And they looked worried," he said. "Captain, do you know what makes Earth unique? It's what the architects would call a Category 5 death world. High radiation, extreme weather, tectonic instability, and most importantly, an incredibly hostile microbial environment." Park took over. For billions of years, life on Earth has been at war with itself. Viruses, bacteria, fungi. Our immune systems didn't just evolve to stay healthy. They evolved to survive constant biological warfare. I leaned forward, my heart starting to pound. "Go on." "Human DNA is a mess by galactic standards," Foster explained. "We have massive amounts of what we used to call junk DNA, remnants of ancient viruses, random mutations. Our genetic code looks like a document edited by 1,000 different people, all at once. But here's the thing," Park said, his voice rising with hope. "That mess makes us unpredictable. The architect's genetic control works because most species have clean, organized DNA. They can read it like a computer program and insert their control codes. But they can't read our mess." I finished for him. "It's more than that," Foster jumped in. "Our immune systems are designed to attack foreign genetic material. Every cell in our body has machinery that's constantly scanning for and destroying viral DNA. We evolved this because Earth's diseases never stopped trying to kill us." Park pulled it all together. The architect's genetic triggers are essentially artificial viruses. They insert dormant code into a genome and activate it remotely. But our immune systems, they might just recognize that code and destroy it before it can even take hold. "Might?" I pressed. We need certainty. We need time and testing, Foster admitted. But Captain, there's more. I've compared our genome to samples from other species. Every single one of them evolved on peaceful worlds. Low radiation, stable climates, and crucially, low microbial diversity. Their evolution was orderly. Ours was chaos, I said quietly. Foster smiled. Beautiful, survival-driven chaos. And that chaos, Captain, might just be our salvation. 3 days later, we were home. The Global Council convened immediately. I stood before them, laying out the chilling facts, showing them the fate of the Vorath, their hollow eyes, their empty cities. Chancellor Wei was skeptical. Are we certain they have this capability? Perhaps they're bluffing. I wish they were, I replied. But the evidence is overwhelming. 17,000 species, controlled. General Hassan slammed his fist on the table. Then we fight. Humanity has never submitted to tyranny, but others were more cautious. Fight with what? Asked Prime Minister Jacobson. They control life itself. That's when Dr. Foster stepped forward. Actually, he said, his voice shaking slightly, they might not be able to control us. Our aggressive immune systems and messy DNA might prevent their control mechanisms from working. The room fell silent. Might? President Amari pressed. Doctor, we need more than might when facing extinction. I understand, Foster said. That's why I propose we test the theory on volunteers. We need to know if we're resistant before we make any decisions. The debate was fierce. Some wanted war, others diplomacy. A few even suggested we should accept the architect's terms. Finally, they asked for my recommendation. I thought about the Vorath, shuffled through their own lives like ghosts. I thought about a galaxy in chains. We need to know what we're capable of, I said. Give the scientists their time. But we prepare for everything. If we can resist their control, we have leverage. If we can't, we need to know that too. The council voted. Dr. Foster would get his experiments. We had 24 days until the Prometheus had to return with humanity's answer. The research facility was buried 3 kilometers beneath the Australian outback. Foster's team, the best in the world, got to work immediately. The first volunteer was Dr. Teresa Kimani, a molecular biologist. She lay calmly on a table as Foster prepared an injection. This contains a synthetic genetic trigger based on what we saw in the architect's database, he explained. She just nodded. If it works on me, it'll work on anyone. If it doesn't, we have our answer. Foster administered the injection. For hours, nothing. Then the monitors lit up. Her immune system is responding, Park observed. Her T cells are mobilizing like they've detected an invader. Over the next 12 hours, we watched, spellbound. Kimani's body waged war on the artificial gene sequence. Her white blood cells attacked the foreign DNA with ferocious efficiency. Her cellular repair mechanisms identified and destroyed the invasive code. It's not integrating, Foster breathed. Her body is treating it like a virus and eliminating it. They ran the test again and again, on different volunteers, with different methods. Every single time, the human immune system recognized and destroyed the foreign genetic material. The messier the person's genome, the more effective the resistance. On the 10th day, Park said something that stuck with me. It's like we were designed to resist the architects, not designed, Foster corrected him. Forged. 4 billion years of biological warfare on a hostile planet created something the architects have never seen before. A species whose chaos is its strength. But our celebration was cut short. On day 8, Dr. Kimani collapsed. Her immune system had gone into overdrive. When I rushed to the facility, Foster explained grimly, "It won't shut off. It destroyed the artificial sequence, but now it's attacking her own cells." "You mean we poisoned her?" I said flatly. "We triggered an autoimmune response," Park clarified. "It's treatable, But this reveals a new problem. We can resist their control, but the process of resisting it damages us. If they tried to modify all of humanity at once, billions might survive, but the autoimmune reactions could kill millions. I stared at Kimani's unconscious form. So we can resist them, but at a terrible cost. Unless, Foster said, we find a way to prevent them from ever trying. The team worked frantically. They developed treatments for the autoimmune response, but more importantly, they made another discovery. Park explained it to me in a late-night briefing. We're not just resistant, Captain. We're toxic to their entire system. The architect's power is based on precision. But human DNA actively resists being read accurately. It shifts, it changes. It's full of errors that make it impossible to predict. We're the chaos they've spent 400 million years trying to eliminate, I realized. Exactly, Foster confirmed. If they try to fully scan and integrate us into their genetic database, our chaotic sequences could contaminate their entire system. It's like a computer virus for their civilization. For the first time, I felt real, undiluted hope. Are you saying we could be a weapon against them? I'm saying we're a biological anomaly they're completely unprepared for, Park replied. The question is, how do we use that advantage? The final days were a whirlwind of planning. The night before we were scheduled to leave, our ship's diplomat, Nina Volkov, found me on the observation deck. The architects offer the peace of a prison, she said. Humanity has always chosen dangerous freedom over safe slavery. She looked out at the stars. If we submit now, we stop being human. We become another tamed species that forgot what it meant to be wild. She was right. I finished my drink, and I suppose we'd better remind them what happens when you try to cage something that was born to be free. The next morning, the Prometheus launched. In our cargo hold, we carried samples of human genetic material. Chaotic, messy, and beautifully disordered. We weren't going back to the Nexus to submit. We were going to deliver humanity's answer, not in words, but written in the code of survival. We were bringing chaos to a garden that had forgotten what wildness meant. And I had a feeling the gardeners were about to learn what happens when you try to prune something that has thorns. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more. Before them, the Nexus loomed, a monument to hubris, its organic spires pulsing with the rhythm of 17,000 enslaved heartbeats. Captain Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, her crew silent, each lost in their own thoughts. They carried not weapons of war, but something far more dangerous. They carried truth. Rita Okonkwo, her voice steady, announced, "Captain, we're being hailed." "Open the channel," Torres commanded. Primarch Solin's shifting form appeared, its thousands of component organisms moving in perfect sync. "Captain Torres, you have returned. We trust humanity has made the wise choice." Torres stepped forward, her spine straight. "We have made our choice, Primarch. But first, we need to show you something. May we dock and meet face to face?" After a pause, Solin replied, "Very well. Portal 7 awaits you." The docking felt different this time. As the living tunnel embraced the Prometheus, Torres noticed the organic material flinch slightly when it touched human metal. A subtle recoil, but it was there. This time, the delegation was smaller. Just Torres, Lieutenant Park, Dr. Foster, and Nina Volkov. Michael Assay remained in command of the ship, a trusted hand if things went wrong. As they walked through the pulsing corridors, the walls seemed less certain, flickering as if struggling to maintain form. They were led to the same amphitheater as before. Primarch Solin waited with Curator Xylith, but now they were joined by a dozen other architects, floating in a semicircle like judges at a trial. "You have had 30 days, Solin began. "What is humanity's answer?" Torres pulled a small data chip from her jacket. "Before we answer, you need to understand what humanity is. This chip contains complete genetic sequences from 100 human volunteers." Curator Xylith floated forward. its crystalline patterns shifting with curiosity. You wish us to analyze your genetics more thoroughly? This is acceptable. Go ahead, Torres said quietly. Take a good look at what 4 billion years of chaos creates. Xylith accepted the chip with a tendril of matter. It inserted the data, and the amphitheater filled with holographic displays of human DNA, spiraling through the air in all its messy, chaotic glory. The reaction was immediate. Several architects recoiled, their forms destabilizing. Xylith made a sound like breaking glass. "What is this?" Solon demanded. "This genetic code is now formed, corrupted, filled with viral contamination and random insertions." "That's not corruption," Dr. Foster spoke up, his voice passionate. "That's survival. Every piece of so-called junk DNA represents a battle our ancestors won. Every viral insertion is a scar from a disease that failed to kill us. Earth didn't give us clean, orderly evolution. It gave us war, and we learned to fight back." Lieutenant Park activated his datapad, adding more information. Notice the immune system markers. Human white blood cells are programmed to attack foreign genetic material with extreme prejudice. Xylith studied the data with growing horror. This is unstable, unpredictable. How do you maintain genetic integrity? "We don't," Torres said simply. "We evolve constantly. Our DNA shifts with every generation. Adaptation is written into our core code. Show them the rest," Volkov urged. Park pulled up data from their research. "We tested your genetic modification techniques on human volunteers. Every time, our immune systems identified and destroyed the foreign sequences. More than that, our cellular machinery actively corrupted the data before destroying it. Human DNA doesn't just resist control. It fights back. The displays showed it happening in real time. The artificial genetic triggers being introduced, the immediate immune response, and then something the architects had never seen. The human DNA actively scrambling the foreign code, introducing errors that spread like wildfire." "This is impossible," another architect spoke. "It's form a cloud of metallic particles. Genetic material cannot spontaneously create countercode." "Your laws," Foster corrected. "Not nature's laws. You've spent so long controlling orderly species that you forgot what true evolutionary chaos looks like. Life doesn't want to be controlled. It wants to survive." Primarch Solon's form flickered, its components struggling for cohesion. "You cannot be allowed to exist in this state. Your genetic chaos could contaminate the entire galactic genome. You must be brought into order." "That's the problem," Torres said, her voice now carrying steel. "You can't. Every modification you try, our bodies will destroy. If you try to force genetic compliance on humanity, you won't create order. You'll create a plague of chaos that will spread through your entire database." She walked closer. "You've built your civilization on the ability to read, predict, and control genetic information. But human DNA is unreadable by your standards. It's too messy, too chaotic, too alive. We're not a species you can add to your collection. We're a virus in your system." The amphitheater fell silent. Finally, Solon spoke, its voice now tinged with what might have been fear. "Then you leave us no choice. Humanity will be sterilized. Within 3 generations, your species will cease to exist." "You could try," Park interjected. "But sterilization is a genetic modification. Our bodies will fight it. You might succeed with some, but not all. And those who survive will be even more resistant. Then we will use cruder methods," another architect stated. "Engineered plagues." Torres smiled, a cold expression. "Go ahead. Create your plague. But remember, humans evolved on a world that spent billions of years trying to kill us with diseases. We got very, very good at surviving them. And more importantly, we got very good at understanding them." She gestured to Foster, who pulled up new data. "Every plague you create, we'll study, break it down, and understand how you built it. Then we'll use that knowledge to build our own biological weapons. Except ours won't have careful control mechanisms. Ours will be pure chaos, designed to corrupt and destroy ordered genetic systems. The architects recoiled as the implications sank in. Xylith's form dissolved into static before reforming. You would weaponize genetic chaos? Threaten the entire galactic ecosystem? We would defend ourselves, Volkov said firmly. You gave us two choices, submit or die. Now we're giving you a third option. Leave us alone. Impossible, Solon declared. We are the architects. We have maintained order for 400 million years. Then you have a decision to make, Torres said. Try to destroy us and risk contaminating your entire genetic database. Try to control us and watch your order crumble. Or leave us alone and accept that there's one species in this galaxy you will never control. Another long silence. Then a new voice spoke. It came from an architect that had remained silent, its form seeming older, more stable. There is a fourth option, it said. We could learn. Solon's form whipped toward the new speaker. Advocate Theron, you cannot be suggesting we abandon the Genesis protocol. I am suggesting we expand it, Theron replied calmly. For eons, we have imposed order because we feared chaos. But perhaps chaos is just a form of order we don't yet understand. Your genetic chaos is not a flaw. It is a survival mechanism. Perhaps instead of destroying or controlling it, we should study it. Study us like lab specimens? Torres asked sharply. Study with you as partners, Theron corrected. You have something we lack, the ability to adapt. We have something you need, 400 million years of genetic knowledge. Imagine what we could accomplish together. This violates every principle of the synthesis. Solon rippled with anger. Then perhaps it is time our principles evolved, Theron replied. The humans are correct. We cannot control them without risking our entire system. We can choose to adapt, just as they have. Volkov stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over. What exactly are you proposing, Advocate Theron? A quarantine zone, Theron explained. Human space would be marked as genetically unregulated territory. You would be free to evolve as you choose. In exchange, you would share your genetic data for study only, never for application without consent. And you would agree not to weaponize genetic chaos. That's asking us to disarm, Park objected. No, Theron said. It is asking for mutual restraint. We will not attempt to control you. You will not attempt to destroy our order. Torres thought about it. It wasn't perfect freedom, but it was survival. It was autonomy. More than that, it was a crack in the architect's perfect order. We would need guarantees, she said finally. And freedom for any species that wants to leave the synthesis, enjoy our quarantine zone. Unacceptable, Solon interjected. Then we have nothing to discuss, Torres said coldly. We're not accepting any deal that leaves the rest of the galaxy in chains. A fierce argument erupted among the architects. But Theron was persuasive and pragmatic. The humans could not be controlled. Finally, Solon spoke. We will agree to a modified proposal. Human space will be a genetic-free zone. Any species wishing to leave the synthesis may request asylum, but must undergo a waiting period. 2 generations, Torres countered. 5 generations, Solon replied. 3, Volkov interjected. Long enough to prove commitment without making it impossible. The architects conferred silently. Finally, Solon nodded. 3 generations. But if any species you accept is used to create biological weapons, the treaty is void. Agreed, Torres said, extending her hand. We defend ourselves and others. We don't attack. After a long hesitation, Solon reached out a tendril of matter and touched Torres's hand. The contact was brief, but monumental. 400 million years of absolute control had just bent to the chaos of human will. As the Prometheus pulled away from the Nexus for the final time, The crew stood on the bridge. According to their final transmissions, 17 species had already filed requests to enter the human quarantine zone. "We did it," Rita said quietly. "We stood up to gods and won." "We didn't win," Torres corrected gently. "We survived. We proved that chaos has value and that freedom is worth fighting for. The real work starts now. We have to show the galaxy that wildness doesn't mean destruction." Dr. Foster was already reviewing data, his mind racing. "Captain, the knowledge the architects have agreed to share will advance human medicine by centuries. And the species that join us, they'll bring their own knowledge, their own perspectives, and their own chaos," Park added with a smile. "The architects created order by controlling everyone. We'll create something new by letting everyone be free." Torres looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were making the hard choice between safe slavery and dangerous freedom. The garden the architects had so carefully tended was beginning to grow wild again. "Set course for Earth," she commanded. "We have a lot of work to do." As the Prometheus jumped to faster-than-light travel, Advocate Theron watched from the Nexus. "What have we done?" Curator Xylith asked, its form still unstable. "We have remembered something we forgot," Theron replied. "That life cannot be perfected, only experienced. That chaos is not the enemy of existence, but its fuel. The humans have reminded us that growth requires risk, that evolution requires freedom, and that perfect order is another name for death." In the depths of the genetic database, a new entry appeared. Homo sapiens, status, unregulated. Threat level, maximum. Potential, unlimited. The notes read, "Approach with caution." This species does not submit. This species adapts. They are the children of chaos, and they have come to remind the galaxy what wildness means. From the ashes of a burned garden, something new was growing. Unpredictable, beautiful, and free.